Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. muted. Or at least your microphone's unmuted, I should say.
Which means I can hear you.
Likely. All right. Alrighty then. I have my microphone muted right now. So you have control over there with it.
All right, welcome to our very first Imagifund Town Hall live stream. We are here, Dustin and I. We are two of the executives for Imagifund, and we have worked our tails off for the past couple of years to make this happen. You want to say anything?
Oh, I was muted. I apologize. Yes, we have worked our tails off for sure. Today was mostly to allow people to ask questions. We definitely have gotten quite a number of questions. I don't know where you want to start with that. I can start with the ones I've received, or
Yeah,
we
why
can
don't you
talk
go
with the
ahead and
concept, or
ask
we can
one of the
introduce
ones
the
you've
campaign,
received?
or whatever it is.
Ask one of the ones you've received, and we can field it.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the first ones I received was on how the goal works, essentially, which we did update the goal, and there is a little bit of confusion around the goal right now because of the issues we ran into, technical issues that we ran into pushing to launch this weekend.
Well, hold on a second, Dustin. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. They don't know what Imagifund is yet.
It's a cloud in the
We
sky.
just launched. It's a funny two like combination word that some millennials came up with. It's us.
Yeah.
So what is Imagifund? Start with that. Imagifund is a generosity engine. It's a first of its kind platform online that allows users to pledge towards campaigns for items they would like to win. And once that campaign reaches its goal, the pledges are charged to the cards on file, and the users get points for their pledge. Just like any other pledging platform, there is overfunding. So once you reach your pledge goal, you can keep going. And a significant portion of that overage goes to a cause that is paired with that prize in advance. Then the action starts. Have a live auction event that starts sometime after the pledge goal is met, and users take those points that they earn from the pledges that they made, convert them to bids, and use those bids in the live auction event. There is no significant money exchange during the auction. The pledges are not the highest bidder like you would normally expect. It is literally just hitting that bid button. The last bid placed when the timer runs out wins. So it's like, putting your hand on top of another one or king of the hill, however you'd like to say it. It is a skill game because it allows you to adjust when you are going to bid. You can hold all your bids for, 37 minutes into the auction or whatever you choose to strategically place your bids in a time that you think you have a good chance of winning. It could be the first 10 seconds. It could be 10 hours. We'll have mechanisms once we have a full launch to be able to mitigate that, length of time and make that not quite so harsh on our users. But we have our very first campaign. So, Dustin, let's talk about the campaign.
All right. Yeah. So the campaign. Actually, last week we got news that we finally, after many, many, many months, got approved for merchant processing. And coincidentally, the Mooney family's situation came across one of the groups I was in, and it seemed like something I would want to. That was the whole reason why we started really doing Imagifund, was to be able to help people. And we've been saying again for the last 2 years, if only we were ready. If only we could. If only the platform was there. If only the concept was developed enough. If only we. If only. If only. Well, we have all the pieces, so we're putting them together, and we're going to try our very best to help them more than people already are. So the Mooney family, if you've seen the post, but Austin has had several organ donation transplants already, and unfortunately, it's not looking good. And he has a wife and 2 kids, and people are rallying around them to help support. And so this is just another way for us to support and also, reward people for doing that essentially. Provide more community where we can interact, so it's beyond just clicking a button and donating, and then it kind of goes away. That's how at least it feels a lot of the times for me. Like when you use the other platforms, it's kind of transactional. And in this instance, we're able to give and then continue that interaction because we have these competitions, and then those competitions themselves, the community funds giving something to one of the members essentially, so we can have more connection than just that transient interaction across one charitable cause essentially. If that make hopefully that makes sense. You want to translate that into not geek? Do you?
All right, so that's the cause. Have we told them about the prize yet?
Yeah, the prize is a footnote in everything I say.
This is how you know we're live people, because I have ADHD and I'm doing other things because we run multiple companies. So you did go through the details of the prize or no?
Yes, the prize is definitely the prize is on the campaign. It has been talked about. The prize is this Friday. I'm not going to remember the number off the top of my head, and I don't have it in front of me, but it's the let me pull it up because
Friday, October 24th, there are cage side VIP seats at a VIP table for an NFC event here in Atlanta. And we know lots of people in the Atlanta community that would love to go to this event and see some great MMA fighters duke it out. The best part about this is that your pledges towards this prize happening for someone help that family. So you're not just buying tickets or buying direct tickets to the event or buying raffle tickets where you have a chance of winning. This allows you to take the the skill that you have in determining the timing of your pledges to be able to win. You take the fate in your own hands with Imagifund, and you help others' fate in turn. So, Dustin, tell us about this match.
yeah. So the match is one I've been watching for a while. A friend of mine, Todd Price, is going to be in the match, and he's just started. We're 40 years old at this point. He's in there, in the cage. So kudos. But he's going in there. He's got his opponent, and a lot of people in the community are rallying around that to support him. And it's looking like it's going to be a lot of fun. This is kind of a big event here in Atlanta, essentially. Had a really great venue. They seem to always have a good turnout. But yeah, so this is NFC 181. That's the number I was looking for earlier. So, and the table again is a VIP table. You can get the opportunity to go inside the cage in between matches. It comes with food vouchers, which they have amazing food there. They have artisan pizza. They have have a tap house or something like that. Uh, you know, I don't really drink that much, but it's there. But yeah, there's supposed to be something like 15 plus fights. It's going to be an awesome night.
I told you earlier that you needed to not quite give Monster Jam energy, but you need to give ringside NFC match energy. Go for it. Putting you on the
like
spot.
put like wrestling in there. Yeah, so
Yeah, give me some
get ready
wrestling
for
energy.
an awesome night of people brawling and going toe to toe and knocking each other out, and hopefully the blood doesn't get on your pizza because that's going to be difficult to discern the difference between the two. Something like that,
Yes,
essentially. Yeah.
exactly like that.
Okay. Yeah.
And
So
then I come in with the soft part, and your pledges help this amazing family make sure that they're supported through, the last goodbyes with their dad and husband, and allow them to focus on that in the time that they really need to be, at peace and connected in that moment, rather than worrying about hospital bills and, power bill or work or all of those things. But this is one instance of somebody that needs help. We're going to be real with you. The world is all in need of help, basically, at this point. Um, there's housing insecurities. People don't know how they're going to put food on the table each night, much less, where their Thanksgiving dinner's coming from. The job market is absolutely terrible. everyone could use some help. And it feels like there's an outpouring of concern and care, but the funds aren't there for us to give. Dustin and I have talked in the past about uh, when things are going well and you're thriving, you have more to give. Imagifund changes that. Even if you have a little bit, not only do you have a chance to win the prize that you're contributing towards purchasing, but your pledge goes towards that cause. And every dollar adds up. Something that might cost $500, if we had 50 people put in $10, which is about the size of a combo at a really cheap fast food restaurant right now, you'd meet that goal. And that prize would be purchased. And if that help them in this time of need.
Yeah, real quick, it looks like your microphone all for some reason stopped working there for a second. So basically, what she was saying a second ago. Sorry, I don't. Your microphone muted.
Yes, my microphone was muted.
Your microphone.
So maybe you can hear us now. What was the last thing they heard?
I noticed your microphone wasn't working. Yeah. Hold on a second. Say like the last three sentences again.
So the world's on fire. Everybody needs help. Nobody has a lot to give because in a time where things are thriving, that's when you really have more to give. But everybody's strapped right now. There are tons of people out of a job, tons of people that can't meet rent or mortgage payments, and about to be a significant increase in the amount of people that don't have a clue how they're going to put food on the table at all beginning in November, much less their Thanksgiving turkey. So, what kind of causes are we looking at helping? And maybe somebody's got a cause in mind that we could help. How do they what causes are we looking at helping, and how can they apply or suggest a cause or charity for us to be able to contribute to?
Yeah. So but right now have what's direct impact, which is where we assume.
Apparently, the universe has decided that Dustin is not talking right now. So I'll answer my own question. Oh, live productions. So fun. So we have a number of causes that we are looking to help, hoping to help in our grand opening, big launch coming up later this year. The National CAC, that's based out of Alabama, they help Childhood Advocacy Center, is what CAC stands for, and organization that organization is making big waves and supporting kids in need in huge ways, but they need funds all the time. They go in their community to get funds. They have in the past had government grants, but things are running short all the time. They need things as small as a pair of shoes for a child or back to school supplies, those kinds of things. And one of the people that works over there is a personal friend of mine, a former colleague of Dustin's. And, we're excited to be able to help them in the near future. We have an organization in West Virginia that is built to help young boys that are out on their own and teach them working skills. Uh, it is called the Ranch, and they have an oil change place as well. So they teach the boys to do those car services, and they also have a consignment store, I believe. That's one that we would like to help. It's nearby one of our other executives that works with us for Imagifund. So that's definitely Atlanta, outside of Atlanta, that has helped me in the past when things were tight and I needed help. I was very humbled and they were very supportive. And now, even more than ever, they need they need help. They need funds, they need donations, they need volunteers, and we want to be able to give to those types of places. But we know you do too. And pairing something like a $500 grocery gift card prize with donations to this food bank is a perfect combination. Vehicle maintenance or fuel cards, gas money, paired with the ranch, perfect combination. A custom pair of shoes or designer shoes. I'm not a shoe person, but I know shoes are a big thing. Maybe we have a pair of shoes that is out of reach of most people, paired with the donations for shoes for children at the NCAC or one of our other CAC friends. It's a perfect combination. And it doesn't take a whole lot. You don't have to pledge hundreds of dollars. You don't even have to pledge dozens of dollars. I think our lowest pledge, depending on the campaign, may be $5, $10, or $20. And it is impossible to go out for dinner, even for two people, for that amount of money. So you're talking about a very insignificant amount for people that even are tight on money to help others. And on top of that, you are able to partake in this auction event that is so much fun. I can't wait for you guys to see it. I can't wait until we get those users going and having that back and forth. And you've got 15 people bidding, and the 10 seconds just keeps getting reset, right? And it is so exciting, so exciting. People will, start to pay attention to who's bidding and how long they wait, if they're on auto bidders or if they're placing manual bids, if they're using bid tokens versus bids that they've earned from the points that they have. There's so much there that makes it such an interactive experience, and we have so much more in store. The gamification options that we have coming with our launch and then beyond launch are going to be so crazy. I I compared it to Mario Kart the game, right? It's like getting one of those prize boxes and it spins, and which prize do you get? Well, it's a banana, or it's an upside down question mark cube that's like a pothole on the track, right? We have so many things, or a speed up, the star that makes you go faster and nothing hits you, right? We're going to have stuff like that, and it's going to be so fun. And these are going to really be entertainment events. At that point, it's going to be the highlight of people's day. maybe even week, maybe even year. And the great part about Imagifund is because we're here to help people, the people that don't win have contributed to make that winner, lift that winner up. So, say it's a vacation for a family of four. I was a single mom for a while. I really wanted to take my kids on vacation. That's not easy. Even if you go to the beach, even if you go camping, it still costs money and it's still difficult. Imagine that family being able to go on vacation because of an Imagifund campaign.
I think I have fixed it. I think that I will have to wait and see, but I'm pretty sure that it's fixed now. The tech gremlins, our CTO George will attest that I am the most technically capable and unfortunate tech person he knows. So, and so with that being said, um, I basically everything Jessica just said. The reality is the sky's the limit. Hence the cloud. We can pretty much take anything anyone wants and is out of reach and bring it down. As a community, together, we can help anyone, we can support any cause, and we can do it together. We can create that connection and we can pull it back and we can basically create a place where we can have that community that we really don't, I hate saying it out loud, but don't have anymore. You know, we really don't have the community like where you interact daily or weekly or I made a comment in one of my posts this morning was like we'll correct somebody's grammar on social media before we'll talk to our neighbor between the car door and the front door, basically. And this is a place where we want people to of all ages, beliefs, views to come and make a difference.
One example that comes to mind of, you know, you never realize when someone needs help is knocking, when someone who needs help is knocking on your door. A friend of ours had a young girl that was kicked out of her house in the middle of the night in very, let's just say, not helpful pajamas. And our friend said, "Come in, let me help you. I have some clothes." She literally gave her clothes that would have been on her back, right? She gave her own clothes right there so that she would be covered. Gave her a backpack with some snacks and some hygiene products and things that she could have until she could figure out where she was going, what options she had. That doesn't happen every day. It's not because people aren't willing to help, it's because we as a society have created distance between each other and those vulnerable stories. One, because the people that are hurting bring down the people that are not. And I know that that may sound selfish, but it's the truth. You know, you want to help people, but you also don't want to see the people that need help. The people that need help want to ask, but they don't want to risk their own pride to ask for help. And that's where we are. That's why we need this platform more than ever, because everyone needs help. Very few people are asking for it. The people that are asking for it are trying to speak up. The people that are trying to help are trying to speak up, but their voices are not loud enough in this world. Imagifund fixes that because we are able to come together and help without a loud voice. You can contribute to a campaign just to contribute. It's like GoFundMe, but there's a fun thing at the end of it, and you might get a chance to win a prize. Or you can sit on your points. We'll have things to do with those later. It's going to be fantastic, but we can't talk about that quite yet. But you don't have to be actively involved to help someone. Imagifund makes it really simple. There are tons of campaigns. Every single one is going to help a worthy cause. And you don't have to choose based on the cause. You don't have to triage the level of need yourself. You can take that out of shame and guilt and that side and look at it as fun experience prize, right? But you're still helping. There's still the altruistic aspect. And you can help, but there's still the what do I get aspect. So it's both sides of the coin. That doesn't exist. GoFundMe, there's no reward. Kickstarter, helping a business, not helping a cause necessarily. It doesn't exist, right?
Did you pause?
You tag in.
Oh, cool. All right. So, uh, yeah. So, I just want to throw in there. So it's a how do I put this? You brought in the G word and the K word, so I guess I get to use them now. Um, you know, what I would say is what we're missing at this point is again that connection. Like with Kickstarter has done a really good job pioneering crowdfunding, I would say, and for like they had a lot of hurdles, but there's definitely still some transparency issues and still issues with delivery. And one of the big points we're making with Imagifund is, and what we're working on the back end is transparency. So we don't have any current plans to use blockchain for like financial stuff. But what we do love about it is that it allows us to provide transparency publicly. So every donation that happens, the points themselves will all be trackable. You'll be able to see where they're going as soon as that's live. And that's a little ways down the road. But that's one major thing that's going to make us different about between us and other crowdfunding platforms is that there will be a level of transparency that simply doesn't exist with those platforms. Everything we're doing is about the community, building the community up, providing transparency in how the community's funding both the causes and the prizes. Eventually, we would love to be able to get to a place where the community itself governs, essentially. So you would invest in the community, essentially. Um, but that is a big part of it. And then the other side of that too is like with again with GoFundMe, you just give, and then it falls off. I feel like I've given to I don't know how many in need, and you don't really ever get the follow up or the connection to the person. Like you get the yeah I helped, and that's always good, but like we don't get the connection like we do when we help somebody in person, right? When we either be teaching or giving them money, resources, a second chance, whatever it is. And what we noticed was like we're really drawn to like the other things that are like the home makeover, for instance, right, where the community comes in and supports the person. But then if you follow those instances, in a lot of cases, those individuals have difficulty after the show leaves because they can't afford the upkeep. So there's a level of responsibility to helping that isn't considered past the flash, the pan. What's it called? The flash fire or whatever it is. I can't think of what it's called off the top of my head.
Flashbang.
Yeah, something to pay, flash in the pan or
Or
whatever.
when you have that explosion of generosity at one time, and it's not
Oh,
necessarily, uh, you know, it's considerate in a lot of ways, but it's not considerate in every way. And we're trying to make sure that we're not giving a gift that will also be a burden. We want to make sure that we're covering when we get to cars and houses and things that are of that extent. We're not going prices right. We're not going to let you go bankrupt because of these prizes or, you know, lose because you won. We're going to make sure that the campaign is able to help cover some of those taxes and things in addition to the cost of the item. So we're thinking ahead for our winners as well as our pledgers that before they get to that. Dustin, tell them about the payment process and how we're patent pending.
Yeah, real quick before we get into that, Rusty Fizz just asked a
Ah,
really
yeah,
good
yeah, yeah.
question, which was how many campaigns will run at the same time. So we're actually doing a soft launch right now. If we seem a little unprepared, that is because we are. Um, we are definitely pushing ahead of the curve, I would say.
We don't have a giant corporation. We're in our home office. Like Dustin's right there,
Yeah.
and my cat is right there, and the dog is in the floor. Like I have pajama pants on.
Really?
Total
You would
honesty. Yes.
never know.
Never
So,
know.
so to answer the question, eventually, the however many campaigns the community can support. Honestly, the plan is to really go, you know, go as far as we can. Right now, obviously, there's not a lot of people that are watching, and not a lot of people know who we are. This is a big part of what crowdfunding is. So, like, in this case, I believe the Mooney Family GoFundMe has gotten about $24,000 from roughly about 200 and something people. So that should give you an idea that with only about 200 people actually committing, they've been able to raise about a quarter of $100,000, right?
But we all know that hospital bills, medical bills,
Yeah, I mean
that's a drop in the bucket.
that's like half of a 2-day visit to the ER, right? So, but imagine in this case, we had 1,000 people. Right now we're at 100,000. You don't really need to contribute a lot either, right? Like, again, what Jessica said earlier, $20 going to Chick-fil-A or whatever it is, times X number of people. That's the power we hold as a community. We don't have to break the bank to help each other. And the more people that join us, the more people that see the power we have together, the more people will be able to help, the more prizes we'll be able to give out, essentially. Um, and the more, essentially, the
we
more.
we
I
are
have spent so much time looking at the math on it. Um, if you were to go and look at this and it's scaled to a like you know uh, conglomerate level, I would say the amount of good that would be able to happen is staggering. Like like actually seeing the world change before your eyes. Good. Uh, so that's where I want to go. I want to be able to go, in a couple of years and be like, you know what? There's this problem, and we as a community decided that it needed to be fixed, and we did at the tune of millions of dollars.
I mean this is like, you get off the interstate and you see people begging for money because they just lost their house or they just lost their job, you know, all of these things that I heard the other day that um, most of America is three paychecks or one hospital visit away from homelessness. And that's the reality. But there's also risk there when it's a person to person because our society is, like I said, pushed that distance between our vulnerability of giving and asking for help. Um, Imagifund can fix that. Imagifund will fix that. And that $20 that you hand someone is $20 immediately, but we will make sure that the $20 goes somewhere, and we hope to share those stories with you. That's a huge part of this. The home makeover shows, Extreme Home Makeover, or the game shows, Price is Right, um, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, all of those are huge productions for one story. And you don't even get a lot of the story, you get what they cut, right? People are craving truth, honesty, vulnerability, what is real. There's AI stories out there that pull your heartstrings, but they're AI stories. There's so many fabricated, scripted things. The things that we are running campaigns for, the winners, and the causes that we're going to be supporting, these are real. And we want to bring that and share that altruistic, your heartwarming. We want to share that with our users. We want to share that with the world because we're going to make a huge difference, and we want more people to feel that because it's going to make the world better.
I mean, that really hits the nail on the head, I think. And the part that the connecting, the part that's missing is that, again, our goal here is not just to get funding for a cause. It's not just to get funding for, a an item or an experience that people can't afford anymore because the world is what it is. But it's to bring the wins as it is to the community, so you can see them and you can celebrate them. We can celebrate them together. I mean, that's a big part of the giving part of charitable acts is the receipt. Like, I see a lot of people talk about giving as if they are losing something, and every time I see that, I'm like, I don't know about y'all, but every time I've ever been able to help somebody money or time wise, either giving my time or giving my money, which they're kind of one or the other, I have always gotten something indispensable out of it. And it may not be in the moment, it may be down the road, but I've always received more than I've gotten, net. And I think that a lot of what's happening transactionally now with how we interact is we don't see it enough to connect what's happening. But people pay attention to what you do and how you do it and how you interact with the world around you. And they talk about you in rooms you're not in. I think people would be surprised how many doors are opened by people you didn't even know were talking about you, or closed. Or closed, And so part of what we're doing here is creating that community so that we can open those doors for each other, and we can talk with each other in the open, and we can see how our actions are impacting the world around us and connect it, because that is a big thing that's missing, right? Like, I've spent the last 3 months testing how people interact with me on social media, and if you've been following me at all, you'll probably bored senseless, or like, has he lost his mind? Like, he's going bipolar. He's going, politically left, politically right, somewhere in the middle. He's talking about recipes. He's talking about his personal belief systems. He couldn't sleep last night, so he had a philosophical debate with ChatGPT.
I believe the phrase that you're looking for is everything, everywhere, all of the time.
Yeah. But it's crazy to watch how people interact and what engages them and what gets views but doesn't get interaction, like comments. What gets comments but like doesn't get a lot of views, or what people just literally skip over, right? And I said it today that it's almost like noise canceling. Isn't like we've enabled it because there's so much coming in.
Yeah.
We've like enabled noise canceling, so it's either like really high or really low, and the middle just kind of gets meh, right? And so
What?
that's kind of what I've been personally playing with, because it matters for what we're building here. Is that you know what we do here needs to get people's attention initially, but eventually you guys won't be able to look away. I promise. Like, the question that Rusty asked was, how many campaigns are we going to have running at the same time? As many as y'all will make possible. Right? Because every one of those is changing somebody's life and also giving to somebody.
So I was talking about thorough consideration. If you know Dustin or myself or any of our colleagues on this project, you know that we think through everything. It it might not be, you know, we still have blind spots. We do, right? But we go through the process as meticulously as we can to make sure that it's set up for every possibility, right? So I know our tech team, I know our development, and they've set it up to where we can scale the platform. Right now, we have an MVP. We do have a full build coming, shortly, but those are scalable. We can have, like he said, as many campaigns as we have traffic for. So the platform, just like, you know, a random household is this close to severe struggle, right? The platform is this close to virality. And the first time we get that, we are on. We are all in. We're all in now, but we're all in on this vision, on this project, on this impact. The level of consideration that our team has put in is honestly astounding. We are looking at things like Dustin said, helping directly or helping through an organization, making sure that the campaign item and the charity make sense together, that the winner is not going to be on the hook for taxes and bills they can't afford to pay. We're going to build that in. But on the front end as well, pledging consideration, we know what the average spend is going to be for each campaign roughly, right? We work with the data, we make sure that that can be balanced. So we're not going to overload the system if we don't have the traffic for that many campaigns. If we have 50 campaigns and 300 active users, that is a skewed system, right? But if we have thousands of active users, 50 campaigns at once, easy, right? If we have millions of users, 50 campaigns at once is not enough. So there's a balance. We need a constant feed coming in, constant suggestions, items you might want to win. We'd throw a switch up there, but people are going to want to switch too, or maybe they want a
I can chime in
PlayStation,
here real
right?
quick actually to help with that. So not every campaign on our, and this is actually in the system right now. We just haven't made it live because we don't have the traffic for it. But basically
Yet.
yet, right? We don't have the traffic yet for it. But basically, we have a shop, and she didn't say we would talk about it. I'm going to talk about it anyways. So we have a shop, right? So we're technically we're an e-commerce platform, right? So we're an e-commerce platform that does campaigns and crowdfunding. And so there will be a shop. And right now, if you go to the website, you can see that we have some, off the shelf items, I would say, like Switch 2, PlayStation, whatever. In the future, users will be able to recommend items to go into the shop. We'll make sure we can source them, obviously. And then once they're approved, people will be able to show interest. If there's enough interest, those items will become campaigns. And then those will actually be able to be crowdfunded so that somebody can win them. We'll have partnerships with charitable organizations so that we can pair them with those campaigns automatically. So the user base will be able to suggest what the prizes are. They'll be able to vote for how what charitable causes get paired with them, and we won't have to actually like manually do that.
Well,
If that
are
makes
we
sense.
are we hosting every campaign?
No, well, no. I see what you did there.
I mean, I don't know about you, Dustin, but our bedrooms are the same. Our house is the same. My house doesn't have enough room for all of these prizes to store before they go out to the users. George's might, but we're not going to do that, right? I told you we're not a huge corporation. We're not, hundreds of employees working on this. This is a small operation making big impact. But we're not going to be the only hosts of campaigns. Hopefully, eventually, we won't be hosting very many campaigns at all. Who's going to be hosting the campaigns?
Everyone else.
Dustin,
Everyone else.
you have a prompt.
I have a prompt.
Yes. Who's going to be hosting the campaigns, Dustin?
The community?
There's a question mark on that.
I did that on purpose.
Charities, organizations, companies, merchants, small businesses, anybody, right? It's not necessarily going to be a free for all like eBay, anybody can sell anything, but we want to make sure that we have an open door policy, right? We're going to consider everyone, and we're going to coach anyone that comes in to be able to advertise the campaign, make sure that they have pre-campaign marketing and they hit the ground running. Maybe an early bird deal where you get extra points for an early bid or an early pledge, sorry. That people that pledge repeatedly on the same campaign might get something extra, right? We're going to help them. Their stretch goals, like Kickstarter, like other crowdfunding platforms, there are stretch goals that we can build in. If the overage goes 50% over the goal, or 200% over the goal, or maybe 10 times what the goal is trying to raise, we have different things that we can add to the pot for the winner or winners. Hint, hint. There's so much opportunity and so much flexibility, and we don't operate in a closed box. We all think out of the box. And because of that, we're actually patent pending for some of our consideration aspects. Um, when you go on a trip, when you go to the gas station, heck, and you put your card in at the pump, it's gonna charge you because it pre-auths like $75, $100, $150. And it might take a week before that charge falls off and the actual amount sticks. So your funds are literally held hostage by your bank by that authorization that doesn't get released. We don't want to do that to you. The ideal system that we have built allows us to collect the payment information when you commit to a pledge, but we're not going to collect those funds or pre-authorize those funds. We might have to, I don't know the payment process, or we're still.
I do.
Okay, Dustin
You want me
knows
to
the
jump in
answer.
on that?
Yes, I asked you to do this earlier.
So
Hint, hint.
So we are patent pending on the process. Basically, we're taking advantage of newer, um, I don't know, but technology is the best way to put it, and using it a certain way. But in the current way that a lot of systems work, you'll get authorized, you'll get held essentially, and then you get charged, later they capture it. The way our system functions is that we validate, and then later we do the sale. That entire process is transparent to the users, and it shows how much we've actually funded essentially. So to run you through it, right now we have a goal of $5,000 for the Mooney campaign. We have one person who is currently pledged $100. They have not been charged. Basically, we made sure the card was good and we saved it. When that goal is reached, right? Everyone will be notified that the goal has been reached, and then the card will be run essentially, and all the cards will be authorized at that point. And then we'll make sure that that number of authorized amount, meaning the money that people said they were going to do, is there. And then we'll take the money, right, to actually fund the campaign.
So that's a lot of words to say.
Yeah.
We're going to try really hard to make sure that the bank doesn't lock up some funds for you while you're waiting for the campaign to confirm. So once the pledge goal is met, that's when you get charged.
I get
You
too
say
technical. I
you're
apologize.
gonna
I get
pay-
excited by technical stuff. Sorry.
You say you're going to pay, And then we wait until we have enough people that said they're going to pay, and then they pay. And we go into overage, basically like overtime for a campaign's goal, right? And you can pledge again. We might, like I said, we might have some bonuses for repeat pledges on the same campaign.
So George is down over here in chat going, disclaimer, right? Imagifund does not save your card information. Legalese, essentially, which is entirely accurate. We never at any point have your card information. So just I'm gonna reframe that before he beats me over the head later. So we are following all best practices and are completely PCI compliant,
Insert
and
all the
we have
disclaimers here.
we have literally spent, and I am not joking, our product was finished back in May. We spent 5 months with our merchant processors because they looked at us and they went, "This is new. That's risky." And we went, "Yeah, but we've made it less risky." And they went, "But you're new, so you're risky." And we're like, "But we're using all of your tools to make it less risky." And then they went, "We're not going to let you use those tools because you're risky." And so for 5 months, we've been going and talking to merchant processors and finally found one that would work with us to actually understand what we were doing to both protect the consumer, protect us, and protect them through our patent pending process. And it took 5 months to finally get a merchant processor to approve us through that. So when we say that we have spent an inordinate amount of time fighting for the cause, that is only a quarter of the last 2 years.
Our our chief technology and securities officer would like to let you know that we don't save any of that information. We only save what we have to, and most of it is communicated in the moment for each campaign. Something like that. We can add that right here in post editing, right? Right here.
Yeah,
Jessica's
right.
mouth is censored and the words that she's supposed to say are below the screen.
Whenever we get George on here next time, he's basically gonna be like the little man. He's gonna be like, I have a few addendums, a few little, you know, little things I need to add.
I'm going to age myself even more again. He's going to be like the Clippy in the corner that's like, "Did you mean to say this?"
But
So,
ooh,
um,
we could just give it like a shiny and then like a beard.
so honestly, at this point, most of the people that know about Imagifund know one of our core team of like 5, 6 people personally, right? Um, I'm not a current chief marketing officer, chief operations officer of any company. I've never been before, but that's where I'm at right here. And these are some really big shoes to fill. Dustin's never been a CEO. He frankly has been, you know, tech support for companies in the past, and he referred to himself as the mushroom in the closet. He's never been a CEO. George does great work, has managed teams that do amazing things. He's never been a CTO before. So, how did we get there? This is another part of the story, that our story, that is fascinating because we have this idea and we are bright eyed and bushy tailed, and we know in our heart of hearts that this platform and this concept needs to exist for good in this world. And we have put everything on the line for this. Um, Everything. It really has been a long road, very exhausting in so many ways. I don't know if you can see the sleep deprivation and all that, but we've poured our entire existences into this project. And in doing so, we get to the tasks that need to be done, and they feel insurmountable. They feel like mountains. And I don't know about you, But those of you that know me don't know that I don't hike mountains. I either run uphill and then try not to die at the top, or I sit at the bottom and say there's a more efficient way to do this. Um, but we've had to learn. We've picked up so many skills and so much advice and so much that we have learned in the past couple of years doing this project. We are in circles that we never, if you had asked us, told us 5 years ago that we'd be having conversations with these people that do these amazing things and have these great connections and, have money to be able to make something huge happen on a corporate, like, I don't want to say corporate, but that kind of scale, right? We would have laughed. It really is, looking back on it, it really is so much that we've learned. Um, and that's part of it too. We're real people. Like, I had a sausage gravy biscuit for breakfast this morning and I hit the snooze button 47 times, I think. Maybe
To be
more.
clear, she was volunteering at a convention this weekend.
I busted
So
my butt this
she was
weekend.
busting her butt this weekend.
So I say I earned it, but we are launching this week. We have a soft launch this week. I can't take a day off. You know, the operation, the project needs us at our best every day. And we have an obligation morally, um, at this point, that we hold ourselves to, because now that we've put this concept into the world, now that we've filed for our patent pending, it exists, and we know that in the wrong hands, this type of platform could be volatile and harmful and not have that positive impact that we want. So we are working day in and day out to make sure that this happens, and it happens for good. Um, you want to speak on that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I would say that I have been fortunate enough in my life to be on both sides of the coin when it comes to industries. I've been in the industry of, um, what I would go ahead and say is like gaming, and so I got to see that, and then I kind of left that, went in the polar opposite direction of supporting charitable causes, primarily, CACs, hospitals, police departments, stuff like that. And so that's kind of where you see this duality in our platform, essentially. And having spent a great deal of time, like in software development, web design, um, technical marketing, I was what I would call it, because like setting up funnels and all that stuff. A lot of Imagifund has basically been designed around disarming the things that would normally be considered predatory. It's the best way I can put it. Inserting choices, reminders, slowing processes so that people think. Because what we really want from our community is we want everyone to do well, right? We don't want people going and donating money they don't have, right, to help people, right? We don't want certain behaviors, and tendencies to take away from what they already have. I guess the best way I can put it. So, what I say is like $20 is, all you really need to put in to help somebody, right? Like, and you multiply that by X number of people in the community, and we have real, very, very real power and ability to change outcomes. You don't have to put a lot in when you have the numbers. And that isn't really highlighted in a lot of platforms. Like I said, I think the current campaign for the Mooney family is they're at like 24,000, I think it is, with 200 something people having put in, right? And several of those people have been extremely generous, like very generous. Like, I think there's a couple of $1,000 and hundreds in there, right? But, if you were able to talk with 1,000 people, like engaged 1,000 people, you can get situations like we see with influencers where they have $500,000, 500,000 followers, right? And they're paid ad revenue, and they're able to do things like buy people houses, right?
Just mind blowing stuff.
Right. And that's just off of people watching. That's a whole nother aspect of what we'll eventually get into, because part of what we're wanting to do is bring that experience to people. So it's not just about the community putting money in, it's about using the community as a almost as a foundation, as it were, to build a system and process, like I was talking about, eventually being managed by the community, that allows it to perpetuate itself, essentially. And that's why we say it's a generosity engine.
I have a question for you, Dustin.
Sure.
You just talked about people with lots of money that can use that for good.
Sure.
So, people with lots of money might look at every opportunity to make more money and gain more for themselves. It's millionaire, the millionaire duality, right? You have the money to help, but you also have the money to gain for yourself. So, how do we make sure that someone with lots of commas, lots of zeros in their um, portfolio, how do we make sure that they don't come in and just sweep all of the campaigns and win all of the auction events, win all the prizes out from under everyone?
Well, and this is already proven, because we haven't really talked about this, but we've actually technically done 2 launches before this one under different variations of this concept as we've developed it. But the competitions themselves are based on what is largely known as a penny auction.
Oh,
What
but penny auctions are scams, aren't they?
Well, depends on who's doing them. But what's important about the penny auctions is that, depending on how they're used, but the core concept behind it is a skill based game, and it naturally devalidates large spending. And unfortunately, most companies that have used it, no one's used it the way we're using it. Like, you can't buy bids with our company. You have to pledge. You have to participate in the ecosystem, and the points that you are rewarded with for pledging can be used for more than bidding. As we were saying earlier, there's a shop. Points actually will have a value based on overfunding that'll be funded by the community, essentially. And
Sort
you'll
of
be able to
like
use those points to essentially discount items in the shop down to zero. So you don't have to bid. You don't have to participate in the competitions. You can,
sort of like a inside out arcade,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like at an arcade you go in, you pay for the coins, and then you play the games. And then you get the tickets, you go to the prize store, and however many tickets you have, you can get something up to that amount. So how does ours work differently?
I wouldn't really even say it works differently. Honestly, the points will have an intrinsic value that'll be so part of overage. So we have the direct impact campaign that we're doing for the Mooney family right now, where basically everything except for in-house expenses, the processing fees, and the overhead for, like, the server, whatever that calculation comes out to. I'll leave that to the bean counter eventually. But everything's limited, right? Everything goes to the family, and then we have our standard campaigns, which would be like for a cause that has a known value. Like, for instance, a lot of the CACs, they need systems, or they need to bring on a new employee, or they, maybe there's a baseball field that a school needs or something like that. There's all kinds of things that have a fixed value. And so we'll be able to raise for that fixed value, whatever the prize is, we'll be able to raise for that fixed value. And then everything in overage gets split between the charity, between the community, essentially, and creating the perpetual engine, as it were. All of that'll be is transparent in
Right.
our
But
back end.
going back to the shop conversation.
Oh, sorry, I went
How
off.
is our shop different from the tickets in the point store at Dave and Buster's or Chuck E. Cheese or an arcade?
I mean, like, that's actually the example I used when we were conceptualizing it. But really, the points, again, you use the points to discount the item all the way down to zero.
So, like when you go to Chronic Taco or your favorite online retailer and you have so many points from your rewards, you can cash those in a certain amount per dollar discount on your next purchase,
Correct.
right? So that's how the store works.
Hmm.
That's how the store works.
With the points.
You have points, you can sit on them, um, or you can use them as convert them to bids and use them in auctions. But that's how the point store will work. You can also sit on your points and sit on bids and use them in a future campaign's auction that you have pledged on. So only the people that have pledged on a campaign during the funding and the crowdfunding part, only those people are allowed to go to the auction. The auction is closed, so you can't like pay your way in or anything like that. It's only the people that contributed to this campaign.
Correct.
The points that those users have had from previous pledges, they can still convert to bids and use in this campaign. So maybe I have one of my kids really wants I keep saying a Switch 2, but it's a fixed amount, right? One of my kids really wants a Switch 2 for Christmas. Let's say that. And I don't have a ton to put towards it. Um, Even if I saved $5 a week, I might not be able to afford it by the time Christmas comes around. Um, but I could pledge $5 towards a campaign for a Switch too. And knowing that this is a regular campaign that might get run again and again, I can pledge, hold my points, pledge on the next campaign, hold my points, pledge, hold my points. And I've helped 3 people win Switch 2s, but now I have a handful of points that I can convert to bids and use on the fourth campaign's auction, increasing my chances to win. Dustin, do points expire?
I want to caveat there real quick. So I kind of I squirreled, and the squirrel herder, who I think is probably what in George's name's going to end up nickname's going to end up being, has just pointed out. So yes, we're based on that penny auction. I want to bring us back, right? Based on the penny auction, but we call it last bid wins. And because you can't buy bids, and intrinsically, just because you could have 1,000 bids, somebody has 10, any one of those 1,010 bids could be the last bid. And that's because people don't have the same amount of time or attention or interest in something. And there's no like amount of uh, bids that can guarantee that you're there. And you really don't know what I'm talking about until you're in it. And I can tell you, I've been in it a lot, obviously, over the last 2 years. I've been on Deal Dash, I've been in our systems, I've played with hundreds of people, and it is crazy to be a part of it. People, George actually, when we first started talking about this, and he's like, so like, what, like, he didn't understand it, but he's like, so like, you just hold your bids until like the other people run out. And I'm like, yeah, but then what if no one bids because they're all holding their bids? Right. And it's like this whole mind game. Like, well, I got to bid because if I don't bid, then someone else is going to win. But if I bid, I'll run out of bids, and it's like this whole psychological gameplay. And then you multiply that by the number of people there, and over time, like some of these auctions we've done, in our tests and on other platforms, they go for days. Like sometimes there's teams of people. Like they'll stagger their time and they'll have teams like off the you know, between them, right? And they'll strategize. I've seen people keep notes. Like they'll like write down a username and they'll be like, this person's on between this time and this time, and they spend about this much, right? Like they'll try and go and do like research on their competition so that they can, you know, and none of that takes into account the shenanigans we're going to be putting in this thing because this is a gamified experience. Like this isn't just an auction. I mean, we're going to be putting some silly stuff in here. There's going to be skill counters. If you've ever played MMOs, there's going to be a skill counter where like you have to hit the button at a certain time. Those will pop up randomly. We're going to put
Mystery powers.
mystery powers. There's going to be bid blockers where somebody can, you know, basically get a superpower to block the next bid, and that'll be annoying now, won't it?
But somebody else could bid right after.
Someone can bid right after. So there's going to be all kinds of little shenanigans. Jessica mentioned the Mario Kart scenario, and that's very much what we're looking at doing. We're wanting to bring in Mario Kart shenanigans to it, essentially.
But it doesn't have to be crazy programming and lots of like brainy ideas built into the system. It can be as little as, you're competing in a campaign's auction. You go live on TikTok and talk to your audience and you get distracted by somebody in your can you imagine someone in your TikTok live commenting so much that you're paying attention to the TikTok live and it causes you to be distracted away from the campaign and you lose.
This happened in our small group testing. We were doing small group testing, and
Or
we
vice versa.
we had a live going like we do right now while we were bidding, and everyone I would just be sitting there talking, and people would be listening to me, and then they'd stop bidding, and I won in the small group test. Like these were the really early small group tests. I'm literally telling people, don't stop paying attention. I'm going to lull you into a sense of security, and then I win. Thank you. Right? Like
So we have a question in chat. So the theory is that you bid 1 second before the auction ends, which then extends the auction by X number of seconds, right? So how does that work, Dustin? The sniping. Can someone come in and snipe to win?
Yeah, so the way that penny auctions work and the last bid auction uses the basic functionality of a penny auction is that you know, there's an anti-sniping mechanic essentially. So when somebody bids, the auction resets to 10 seconds. So yeah, you can take the what do you call it, strategy of waiting to the last second to bid. There is a downfall to doing that because if everyone does that, everyone bids. So then you all just bid 10, 20 times. There's 10, 20 bids going in at the same time. Whereas it can be really annoying for people if you bid like right after it resets. And I've actually done this in auctions where I won't wait for the timer. I'll just pound it. And there's really no time to play. And, you know, basically denying other people action in the competition essentially, and switching between that and, you know, going offline, and there's all kinds of really basic mind games you can do with the competition without any of the shenanigans we talked about.
So you mentioned going in and pounding it to push through other people's bids, right?
Yeah.
What if someone has okay, so we have three teenagers and they all play games like Roblox and stuff and things. Um, what if somebody had a cookie clicker or some sort of AI agent that can come in and do things? What's stopping them from doing that?
We're
And
watching.
do we have features like that?
Yeah, so so to one, we do have mechanics in place for monitoring user behavior. So we don't explicitly ban the use of bots, but we also don't encourage it, and we're watching. So is what I would say. And if you are found to basically be utilizing third-party tools, you may find yourself in cooldown periods where you can't bid. Is the best way I could put that.
How do you get an how do you get an auto bidder?
Yeah, so we do have an auto bidder built into the system, and part of that, we're not certain we're going to introduce it, honestly, because we want the interaction, but it does introduce a unique gameplay experience. So we're kind of currently working on whether or not it's going to be a kind of a superpower or something that's enabled, through user actions, or just, full on brought into the system. Because it does, to answer, Chris had asked earlier, what is the advantage of bidding early? So, in a situation where you don't have an auto bidder, there's less advantage. It's mainly denying other users the joy of waiting the 9 seconds. Because you got to figure, we're sitting here potentially for hours, and those 9 seconds are the only like mental reprieve you get, right? Essentially, so it can become taxing. um Again, once you're in it, you'll see what I'm talking about.
So you mentioned that some of these auctions can go for hours,
Days.
days.
It's like you
Um,
I one of
I,
the
I
early examples I gave was, you remember the mall, and you put your hand on the car, and the first person to take their hand off the car loses, or the last person to take their hand off the car wins. This is in a lot of ways like that. It's an attention game. It's a marathon.
we watch a lot of Big Brother. That's one of our bedtime shows that we'll watch after a long day of work, and it they have competitions like this all the time, like who endurance competitions, right? So this is an endurance competition, but I've had children. My bladder doesn't hold it. What what do, Dustin?
Well, so without the auto bidder, there isn't not much to do. So the other side of what I was saying earlier was, if we do introduce the auto bidder, and again, we're going to be looking for a lot of community feedback. So especially here early on, we introduce features. They may stay, they may go, they may get changed, right? They may go away, however it is. But if we introduce the auto bidder, one of the bidding early functions is, like Jessica just mentioned, I would use, and a lot of people would use the auto bidder so they could step away, so that they can take a break, so they could relax their attention, or maybe life is demanding them for some reason. Bidding early burns through their auto bidder. And I did that a lot and won a lot, simply because I committed to, basically removing their auto bidder from play.
What about those Mario Kart?
Say it
Those
again.
the Mario Kart bonuses and things.
Yeah. So that is, so just to throw it out there, we actually have, this is our current MVP, and then we have an application that is, probably about, 70% done. So we'll be having a mobile application.
No, 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 no.
I'm getting to it.
I know, but you're so technical.
I'm
I just
sorry.
want you to say one of the bonuses that we're going to have is a giant pause button.
Yes.
That if you get it, if you have that bonus, you can smash the pause button, go pee, and then come back before it starts again.
Yeah.
And that throws people off too, because I don't know about you, but I have time blindness.
Yeah. So that's part, again, with the superpowers, being introduced. The ability to pause, the ability to speed it up is another one. So again, this is the entry point, and the base system itself. To answer the question from earlier, we've gone off on a tangent. The answer to the question from earlier: just because you have 1,000 bids does not mean you win, and we've seen the example of it over and over again. I actually, when we did our launch last, man, wow, it's been a while.
It's been a month.
We did our launch for the house, because we actually tried to crowdfund a house. We got
Oh,
about 2,000 people to
yeah.
vote, or no, vote to pledge, but it was like for $1. We were trying to get a $500,000 house funded. And we had about 650, 700 people show up to an open house in 4 hours. And we have it all recorded, and we got lots of testimonial and stuff. But more importantly to that, um, a lot of what people were saying is, well, I'm just going to put like $20,000 in, and we're like,
I mean, okay, but
at the time we were like, okay, you're not definitely going to win. because of the way the system functions. I want to make sure you understand that, which is why our goal now is to be vocal about, hey, really, you should just put in like what you can afford, like 20 bucks, right? You don't like need to put in $20,000 because then you have that situation where somebody's dumped 20 grand in thinking that I'm guaranteed to win. And I'm gonna be clear, like there were people talking about putting 100 grand in, like no joke. Because I mean, you figure to some people that have money, 100 grand to guarantee a win at $500,000 house, but it's not guaranteed, right? They could put 100 grand in, get 100,000 tokens, and then they fall asleep because they can't stay awake. And some guy comes in with like, 5 bids and wins.
Hmm.
And there's actually an instance back in 2011, I think it was, there was a company that tried to do this. They actually ran into a technical issue on their first campaign and it ended early. But a woman won a house. I think it was like a $1,100 had actually gone through it, like basically for 1,100 bucks. Not her specifically, but the people had it. But there was a technical issue that happened. But yeah, she won a house simply because she was the last person to bid.
Now, I do want to point out that the bids, some of them, bid tokens do not, but bids will increase the final price for the winner by 1 penny. So it's very similar to penny auctions, but we're separating the payment. We're taking the teeth out of the penny auctions. So that fractional insignificant amount at the end that is literally pennies, um, that amount gets contributed by the winner, and that kind of covers like a tax amount. When you buy a car from a friend or whatever and they sell it to you for $1, that's what that concept is.
Well, we haven't exactly been able to bring in a lot of lawyer conversations. So if anyone out there is a lawyer and is willing to give us advice on stuff, that'd be great. But what
Dustin
we'd
is
love
now
to do,
crowdsourcing lawyers on
yeah. So
YouTube.
if anyone's willing to give us advice, the what we'd love to do is make it part of the stretch goals because that um, payment gets basically funded by the community essentially. I just don't know the legality behind that, so we're kind of sticking to the rails that the other our predecessors have established in the courts, so as to not in anger not to anger them. But as soon as we can start breaking the mold more, we will. And again, like any lawyers out there that want to talk with us and maybe give us advice without charging us $1,500 an hour, that would be great.
So so I want to respond to the question in chat. Weedle asks, "How do you find items to crowdsource?" That's a great question. Um, a lot of the penny auction sites that you've seen in the past use luxury items or uh, direct from manufacturer items and knockoff brands or whatever. Um, the world's not there right now. America's not there right now. America would rather have groceries or an oil change or something that is just out of reach that people would normally be able to afford, but they have to save for over a longer period of time. A vacation, things like that. These are just out of reach, but also can be life changing. So think like a laptop or a new suit or a prom dress. How many people would love to go take their child, date themselves, whatever, to prom in a brand new get up, but they don't have the money for that.
I want to throw in here too, right? The other part of the question is that we do have the systems for people to vote, to make suggestions,
Hmm.
and then vote items to go into the store. So 100% on everything Jessica just said, one step at a time, as it were. Right now, what she's saying is what we're trying to show people. We're trying to show people that together there's this possibility if we can all align and become part of the community, we can make these things happen. the ability for Weedle for you to go in there and hey, I want to see this TikTok shop thing that's amazing. I can't afford it or whatever, right? And suggest it, and then the community votes on it. And then if there's enough people that meet the threshold, it goes into the shop and it becomes a campaign. And then again, we pair that with a need, and it goes off to the races. And that's essentially how that works
You've also got
eventually.
uh, location based items like house, or, coming down from a house, you've got um, a new roof is something that people put off, but really would be life changing, because
Oh,
the
that
amount
actually
of the
came
like
up.
stress and stuff that just takes off their shoulders when they don't have to worry about the roof falling apart or leaks or whatever, water damage.
So I'm gonna jump in here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I did
So
it on
there's
purpose.
two things, and it's amazing that you just said that again. So I'm in some business groups essentially because I'm trying to learn and better myself. Because as Jessica made sure to point out, I have never been a CEO before.
He's only been a mushroom in a closet.
Well, that was what they called me. But more importantly, I was on the radio this morning taking the kids to school, and the radio apparently a woman who got an inheritance, and her husband and her had a little, back and forth, and she wanted a new car and he wanted to, have the money so they could have it. Well, she went and got the car, and then their roof needed to be replaced after she got the car, and she feels horrible about that. And they were talking about it on the radio, and they don't have the money for the roof now that she got the car. And then in the business group, one of the roofing companies was talking about one of the things that they do for marketing purposes is to give away free roofs. And that actually pairs and is what part of what our business model is to be able to work with our community, also being the businesses in that community, so that we can market things like that and provide a different experience beyond what they would normally do, which might be like, a like campaign or a comment campaign or a raffle or whatever it is they decide to do. We can work with them. They sponsor the prize, which might be a new roof, and we can bring it into the community. They get the exposure, and the community gets the prize, and we help a charity essentially, because we're pairing these with charitable causes. So it's a win situation essentially, and that's I brought that up in the group essentially.
it it really is things that are just out of reach. Like you just said, an inheritance, right? Inheritance is like, most people can't fathom that. Um, my great aunt passed away years and years ago, and she left me an older SUV that burns oil constantly. Like, I never needed an oil change because I just needed to put new oil in. That much burning oil. And I sold it for 3 grand. Do I go pay my bills ahead? Like, pay up ahead on my bills so that there's a credit on my account and I don't have to worry about that for a few months? Or do I go do something fun? And we're trying to create a situation where we have the option for people to do both. And once you pledge, say you pledged $50 to, a motorcycle, but then your shingles blow off or a branch hits and you need a new roof and the insurance company's not going to pay for it. Maybe the $50 that you pledged on the motorcycle gives you 50-ish $50 worth of points, whatever that is based on that campaign, and you pledge the minimum on the roof, you can use all of those towards that. So there is flexibility there. There is the ability for you to change what you're deciding on and leverage your contributions in the system previously towards something you do need. And that really does balance things for everyone, because you're contributing when you can and things that you might want, but then when you need to have something, it's also there. If you got We got a small inheritance recently, but we took trees down at our house. That's something that was a lot of stress on us, but that's not cheap. It was like 7 grand. But being able to make a decision that takes that weight and that anxiety off of our shoulders, we don't have to worry about branches hitting the house. We don't have to worry about the ice storms Georgia has and the pine trees taking our power out. We don't have to worry about the hickory nuts falling on our SUV and denting the heck out of it. And the peace of mind that that's given us was worth taking that and doing something responsible with it instead of going on a Disney vacation, right? We could have done that, but we went the responsible route. With Imagifund, you can do both.
Chris has a question actually, regarding the roofing. Given the geographical nature of something like a roof, it might be better to auction roof materials, which can be much more national. Interesting question. Love it. Definitely something we've considered. One of the cool things about businesses is the business networks. So, for instance, if we are working with a specific, like if one of the businesses here in Georgia decided to do a a free roof, right? Obviously, that would be more geographically located to somebody in Georgia, right? If we did something where we had a network of roofers, and more or less we do, we basically know roofers literally nationally. Like, if I had to say, like, maybe the Midwest would be difficult, and that's just me not knowing. I'm sure if I went and talked with one of them, be like, "Do you know somebody in the Midwest that does roofs?" Right? Would they like to have exposure? Right? And most of them aren't going to say no once we get to a certain point, right? So the idea is that there's definitely somebody to fit that need. Another good place to go with this is tiny homes. We're actually partnering with a tiny home builder, but they're here in the southeast,
Mm-hmm.
specifically in Georgia, but they deliver nationwide, right? So they can we can auction off, not auction off. We can do a campaign for a charitable cause and a tiny home. Their tiny homes are very well built, which means they're a little bit more expensive, but that can be shipped anywhere in the continental United States, essentially. So it's not as much limited by the geography as much as our imagination and ability to network to make something happen.
What about lawn care? Like, lawn care is something that is a local thing, but you also have national brands. So we could go with a mom and pop organization that does it as, a year's worth of lawn care services or 2 years. Or we could go with a national company like True Green. It's generally going to be flexible when it comes to that. But if you're a business owner or just somebody that wants to host one of these, right? These campaigns can be set up for a flexible price.
Yeah, you can do
So
like a Home Depot gift card or something like that, technically,
maybe our
a
friends
credit.
over at Perimeter Roofing in Atlanta host a campaign for a new roof. If it's in their service area, they'll cover it. If it's outside of their service area, they know who to reach out to.
Yeah, 100%. And this is the kind of stuff we're looking for feedback. I love that question. And I love answers too, because I would love to not have to have all of them. But it is what it is. I'm sure that once we get more people in the room, people love correcting you.
What about a house? Because a house, I know you mentioned tiny houses and we've talked about roofs and services, but you can't really move a house across the country as easily as some other prizes, right?
Sure.
What if it is for a house? What are some of the options a winner has
Right
for
there,
that?
Chris just answered it. Rent for a year. Like, I mean, like, straight up, already have answers, right? Like, this actually came up a lot during that campaign we had. Like, why would somebody in California want a house in Lawrenceville, Georgia? Well, I mean, the house is a 500, in that case, it would have been a $500,000 completely paid for asset. Most people don't understand what that means in terms of value, which is when we kind of realized that we needed to be providing some sort of financial management and planning with prizes like that, where, you know, we don't want people to get something that's life changing and not know how to properly utilize it. So, like, something like a house, we would build into that campaign financial management literacy, potentially having somebody help you with managing it if you don't plan on living in it, all of that stuff. We have lots of contacts for people who have the answers, essentially. um, yeah, national rental companies, tax advice. Again, these are all services that once
Mm-hmm.
the platform has grown, we can provide exposure to the community, for their assistance. Obviously, they get paid as well, right? But again, the core concept of I'm sorry, Jessica. The core concept here is that people need to realize how much power we have, like power
Cool. That's good to
and
know.
financial power, like our actual capacity to finance. I mean, everything in this country is paid for by us. It's just taxes, right? So, if you think about even a fraction of the country being involved on the platform, that gives us the literal ability to move mountains.
So I want to remind everyone that's here, because I don't know if you guys were here at the beginning, our very first campaign is live now at imagifund.com. It benefits the Mooney family. Um, they have mom, dad, two younger children. Dad has had two organ transplants and he's now on hospice. So this takes care of, you know, taking some of that stress off of the family. And the prize that's paired with that, because this is someone that is in an entrepreneur group that we're a part of, is a VIP table, um, cage side at a NFC event here in Atlanta. And that event is on Friday, October 24th. So that campaign is going to be a big push in the next 3 days. The more we raise, the more they get, right? But this campaign is sponsored by Bissy, and Bissy's going to make sure that this campaign goes to auction one way or another. So somebody's going to win those tickets. That's an opportunity that any business owner can do right there, is sponsor a campaign or host a campaign or match the donation. We have the first pledge on this campaign for the NFC tickets and the Mooney family is from Blake at revive.gc.com. You can look at the pledger list right there on the campaign page. And, you know, Blake, thank you for contributing. But he's got advertising right there for his pledge. Oh, we just had another pledge come in. Dustin.
Oh, sorry, I was adding a QR code to the stream. So that is a QR code directly to the campaign. I probably should have put that in there 2 hours ago. I apologize. We'll make sure we have it there. So that QR code that is showing up now should go directly to the campaign page. If somebody can check that for me, that'd be great. On the team. um, oh wow. Oh cool. Awesome.
Question. What
Yes.
what will each bid cost, or does it vary? Like Deal Dash has a price per bid.
Right. So again, in this case, bids are not purchasable. So you are rewarded with bids. It's more like, best way I could put it is credit card rewards is how we'll be doing it. Um, what I would say with that is right now we're doing 1-to-1. That may change in the future as we see interaction occur. And just like you see with like Kroger points or
Oh,
Visa
right, so stop.
points, how they, they'll do modifiers and times four multipliers and stuff like that. That's kind of the model we're kind of looking to base it off of, but we need to see how the community interacts with the system so that we know how to balance giving out resources and how they're consumed. So the base model right now is whenever you pledge to a cause, a campaign, a cause, and a prize, you get one point essentially for every dollar, and then we give right now it's 2 to 1 for bid tokens. So both of those points can be saved and used to discount items in the shop. They can also be converted to bids, 1 for 1, and then bid tokens can only be used for bidding in the competitions essentially.
Now, when we get to our full build and down the line, the points value will be adjustable. Point rewards points for most companies are a set amount. 1,000 points equals $10 off or whatever, right? Ours is going to be a set amount for a while. Eventually, we would love to have that be variable because as the points get used for bids or the points get used in the store or maybe other options in the future, those points might fluctuate in value. But right now, it's going to be a static amount. So hopefully that answers that for both the bid cost and the point cost or point value.
Yeah, there's a lot of things because of the nature of what we're trying to do with transparency and blockchain. We have to very much distance ourselves from the SEC. We have no intentions within our current operations to, have financial vehicles. And that's just because of the way that the insert
here.
disclaimer here, right? But there's a lot of stuff happening very fast, and we're trying to position ourselves to be able to adapt to what is allowed to happen very well, essentially. So, I mean, the really is limitless in how we're trying to position ourselves using AI, using Web3, um, all of it.
Now, those are some scary words,
Yes,
Dustin. Some people are very intimidated by those. And, that Web3 is out to get you.
that's true.
So, what do you have input on what, or do you have comments on what we're doing to keep that um, easy to access and not as risky as other?
Well, yeah. So the Web3 aspect of the system's entirely, essentially, we're using the immutable ledger of blockchains to provide transparent public reporting. That's the plan. So there won't be anything the users need to manage. It'll basically just be something that's hosted in the cloud, and we don't control it. So like, there's no way for us to doctor what's happening, and that's allowing us to provide transparency to our community that's verifiable and trustworthy. Not saying we aren't. We're opening the book, so to speak, on how operations work, and you'll see how things happen, essentially. And like, tell me what company you try to go and tell me that Kickstarter or GoFundMe wants to do that. I highly doubt it. So, but we're starting with the mentality that we do. We want that transparency with the community. We want them to see the impact we're having. We want you to see it in like real time. So, because we're starting there, there's nothing to hide. There's nothing to. I shouldn't say they're hiding anything. Disclaimer: they're not hiding anything that I know of. But like, we want to have that transparency in our community because we do want eventually for the community to be self-governed, right? Like, at some point, I want this to live beyond my ability to, do it. I guess is the best way I can put it. We're only on this planet for so long. So, we're also thinking about legacy. We're thinking about how this becomes the next iteration and grows beyond our current capacity.
I think that that's something that we have um, noticed every time we're talking about this project, this concept, this platform. The the people that know us um, see how transparent and how genuine we are. The people that don't know us look at this and like like we said earlier, it's crowdfunding. That's risky. It's penny auctions. That's a scam. So this must not be good, right? It's not that. And we really are a team that to our core want to bring positive impact transparently to our users and make big waves in the community, not for necessarily our benefit. Like, we want to help people truly. And no, we're not a 501c3 or whatever, but we have the heart of one. And frankly, we probably have a heart that's better than some of them.
So one thing I want to throw in there, there is a, and I just forgot what its name is, so you can thank ADHD for that. But there is a
Squirrels.
um, type of corporation out of Delaware, which I'm very much would like to go in the direction of. But it's, I believe Kickstarter is one, where like you basically you're not a charitable organization, but you mandate that you are basically working towards the betterment of humanity or
Like
whatever.
upholding the values and stuff.
Upholding, yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but I love that's what we're doing. So when we get to a point where and we have talked with a lot of investors, this is the beginning of this journey for investorship, essentially moving from where we are to being able to bring in investors so we can show traction, show that people are interested in what we're doing and our ability to actually get engagement. But when we actually go to do that, I would, a big part of what this whole journey has been, how do we make this concept caked into the DNA of the company, right? Like, how do we make sure that it is intrinsically vital and irremovable, right, from our purpose? And that is, there's been a lot of conversations around that. We didn't even think that was possible when we first started. We thought, like, we're going to be carrying this torch till the day we die, essentially,
But
because
we've learned that founders don't make good executives. And when someone with the heart to build it has that commitment to the passion,
sorry, I'm
you
sorry.
have a death grip on the company's ability to survive without you. Is that fair statement?
Yeah, that's a fair statement, and I have to apologize for laughing because that was what she was saying is not what I was laughing at. That was inappropriate at that moment. But Chris had asked a question, which was, "Have you thought about a Shark Tank proposal?" I am an avid Shark Tank watcher. Um, if it isn't apparent, I'm still working on my speaking, and I'm kind of like a goofy guy. I am pretty sure they would pick us apart because we've been in the room with several investors, and luckily they have been constructive. Like I said, 2 years. When we first came to our first accelerator, I don't think there's a problem with us saying it. We talked with Techstars here in Atlanta. Um, the leading, I don't remember what his title was, but I don't want to name drop per se, but he basically was very kind because we were very, very, very innocent and naive, and he gave us basically the framework for what we needed to do. So, like, if we'd gone to Shark Tank then, oh boy, we would have been like a 30-second little part of the episode if we didn't get cut. Now, what we're finding is what they want to see is traction. Shark Tank, and we actually went to a town hall for Techstars a couple about a month ago, I guess actually now, and we're in that part right where have ideation, you have pre-seed, and then you have seed. I'm going to get a little technical. Sorry, that's what I do. But that is a gray area for funding. It's really where the businesses either make it or break it. And luckily, we're like on the end of pre-seed. Like we have the product, we can actually do our sell it now, and we just need to show traction. In traction, when you actually start making money, is when people are looking to invest. So if we went to Shark Tank right now and we asked them for X dollars, they're asking for X dollars to scale. They're not asking for X dollars to prove a concept necessarily. Exactly. Yes. What were our numbers last year? 0. Right. So we literally we've spent 5 months in like merchant processing hell. We actually started a whole business in merchant processing. The first merchant processor we've been taught. We worked with the merchant processor for a year while building this. They had complete transparency into what we were doing. We went to launch and they said, "Oh no," and dropped us. And we literally have been talking to them the whole time. We went and talked to the next one. We talked to them for about a month, and towards the end of it, they basically, in no less words, said, "You don't have enough zeros, you don't have enough volume, and you're not worth our time." And so I went, "Okay, buddy, I'm gonna go and get those zeros and get that volume, so that I can get your time." And that's what we've been doing since June. And now we were able doing that. We were able to get in and get somebody to listen to us.
The year before that, we spent time learning startup and how administrators work in a small business, and marketing and business compliance, and things that were frankly above our pay grade and still are above our pay grade. But we've learned so much. And one of the things that Dustin says that kind of translates our real perspectives on things is that we don't know what we don't know. And we're optimists most of the time.
We try to be.
We try to be. And honestly, in this entire journey so far, things, when we hit a roadblock, seem to fall in place at the right time. Like he was saying, the merchant processor uh, basically dropped us, and we had connections basically fall in our lap for merchant processing. And before that it was marketing, and before that it was business, and all of those things have contributed. So Weedle asks, what do you believe will be your profit margin per item?
Yeah, no, I was letting you continue. So to answer that question, you will learn if you stick around. I love spreadsheets. So we actually have an entire investor portfolio we have with estimates. But it's not really per se. Sorry, I'm adding some
They're
text.
estimates because we understand the virality potential we have. This is how you know we're genuine and we're not a giant corporation. Again,
Sorry, the dog has gone crazy.
our dog has gone crazy.
So
The
I'll be right back.
What was I saying?
You were I don't know. The dog completely squirreled
The
me.
dog completely squirreled me. Somebody tell me what I was saying. So, what do you believe would be your profit margin? These are genuine estimates. So we looked at the Temu effect, and the way that they approached their marketing at launch allowed them, and the way that they gamified their marketplace, and still do, is and their target market, people that can't afford the luxury items, so they want to get the discount item to pay a little less, wait a little longer, so on and so forth. These are our people, right? I mean, last year, half of my kids' stocking stuffers were from Temu. So that's us. And we saw the effects that had when they launched, how quickly their user base grew, what their average spend was, active user counts per month, all of that.
Now you're getting into the geeky part for Jessica.
Well, yes. I like the marketing theory and marketing psychology. Dustin is the numbers person. So he looks at the numbers, runs them through whatever algorithms, whatever. And he's like, oh my gosh.
Well, let me directly answer Weedle's question first of all. So so under the current direct impact campaign, that is something we're obviously doing because we felt led to do. That will be not be what we're doing all the time. So we have the standard model, which is where we have a fixed charitable cause and we have a fixed price, and then overage is distributed instead of like with Kickstarter, GoFundMe, overage going all to one place. Under those fixed cost models, overage will actually be split between the charitable cause and the community for funding the points, and actually giving in like a percentage of profits goes towards another charitable cause the community votes on. Bottom line is every campaign is net positive. Otherwise, it doesn't actually launch. So again, we have no aside from the server costs, right? We don't process payments unless we're, you know, certain that we're going to actually be able to take the funds. So our overhead's actually not horrible, other than paying the people that work here. We do have a platform fee, for the platform itself, which is higher than both GoFundMe and Kickstarter. Donate. Oh, sorry. Okay. Which is partly because of us being a new concept. Our merchant processor requires a higher fee. So as we're able to prove the concept, we're able to show that we're reliable. We're not getting a whole bunch of chargebacks and all this stuff. That platform fee will be able to come down. But basically, we get a platform fee, and then you know, uh, that's how we make our money.
I want to take.
Oop, hold on a second. Let me finish.
Okay.
So as far as that, if you look at Kickstarter, you look at the actual percentage of campaigns that actually succeed and what they succeed by, and you do a lot of math, you can kind of estimate what a certain amount of engaged users would actually produce over time, essentially. And because we're using an e-commerce model, like I said before, we're going to have what people want. You're going to be putting the stuff on the site you want to see and want to get. So you're going to have that ability to have the interest there. There should only be stuff on the site that people are interested in. If it isn't interesting or not desirable to the community, it's not going to be on there because no one's going to vote it on. So you take all of that information. We operate on a net positive. Like the campaigns don't even go unless we can't go negative, essentially, on a campaign that launches. We can scale really high. Like literally like Temu high.
So there are two questions that are very important. What about the sale of user data, which is how Temu makes their money? I am going to put on my George mask and let you know that we have the highest of um, securities. This is terrible.
Okay.
No, okay. No, we know user data is not something that we're planning on selling. We do have opportunity for ads and such in the future, but not necessarily.
User data
Yeah.
is not something we have. I would say we have no real reason to sell it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put this out there. Because of the way where we differ with Temu is that we're actually creating these experiences, right? And so we're actually more in the vein of like Temu meets Whatnot, right? So imagine if you know what Whatnot is, or TikTok shops or whatever, these live experiences where they're generating users, views, right? We're generating experiences that we're going to be telling people about. So there's actually going to be an entirely different revenue stream just based off of us talking about the success and the outcome and how all of that stuff's happening.
The
Beyond
campaign
the
hosts
commerce.
will obviously get the information for the winners because they have to be able to send out the prizes, but that information is not going to be shared, and we're we're doing our best to make sure that the user information that's visible on the pledge list is private, and we have, a list of things that we're working on actively as we find them. Like I said earlier, we try to be considerate in every aspect. So,
The idea behind it is and this is I said this in my post earlier today, is that we've monetized community, right? Like, obviously. And we don't want to monetize community to its detriment. So, like, giving away user data, like how they spend, like, one, we want to know what that is, right? Like, that's our edge once
it,
we get going.
it's not just our edge. It is generally how you. Um, this is my nerdy part, the marketing psychology. As a user, you want to have things suggested to you that are genuinely things that you'd like.
That's what I
So,
meant.
like, if you live in New York City and don't drive anywhere, there's no reason for your suggested campaigns to show vehicle stuff, right? That kind of thing. You're not a gamer. Why are we going to show you a Switch 2, right? Um, you you have liked campaigns in the past that read that you have a family with children. Maybe we'll suggest to you a Disney vacation package. It it helps us provide a better user experience for our users, but it's not something that we're going to monetize. We're not going to be like Facebook, where it's free to participate, but also you are their product. You guys are not our products. Hope is our product.
I like that. Chris has another question, which is, how do you make every campaign net positive? That's actually part of our patent pending system. So the campaigns themselves. Okay, wait. I'm about to go. I'm not going to get into the technical situation on that, but basically, we're in the process of patenting the system that does the thing you just asked about, and there's a lot going on there. But we do basically everything we can, both through the payment processor and through our internal systems, to ensure that we do not go ahead with a campaign without having all of the money to make the campaign possible. It's the best way I can put that. So, like, unlike Kickstarter, for instance, with Kickstarter, you'll have like a $10,000 goal, and they'll raise like $10 million, right? Kickstarter doesn't care if they get all $10 million, right? They're making a percentage on whatever they get. Whereas with our system, we actually have to have the $10 million, because a percentage of it goes to the cause, a percentage of it pays for the prize, and then it's overfunding is paid out, based on that. So our system requires that the committed amount, at least for the goal, is met.
So I've pledged on a number of Kickstarter campaigns over the years, and I have ADHD, and I often forget to put the money in the account that that's supposed to pull out of. Kickstarter
Oh,
has a certain window for you to update your payment option, um, but then you lose out. And if you don't update your payment option within that window, the campaign host doesn't get my pledge. Like you said, they don't care if the final amount, it doesn't matter to them because they can adjust for it. We can't, because um these items are, they have shelf prices. They have tangible hard costs. There's shipping costs for some of these. The only way for us to reduce the cost in that regard is for the supplier or merchant or manufacturer of that item to work with us directly, which is a possibility.
that's what sponsorships are for.
Yeah, like we were talking about the roofing companies. If we worked with a roofing company, the the campaign goal for the portion of the campaign goal that goes, the significant portion of the campaign goal goes to the item, um, that might be a discounted amount so that the goal can start lower. Our platform costs are going to be a set percent. They're not going to fluctuate. And that'll all be upfront and
Well, they'll
transparent.
fluctuate down as the merchant processors become
Yes.
um, more
Yes.
comfortable with us.
Yes.
We asked a really good question here. Actually, there's two questions that came up. I answered the other one. Sorry. How do you have? Do you have a system in place to prevent people pledging money they don't have, chasing hope? Yes. The whole system, and like I said, my background, I spent about 8 years in the gaming industry, like gaming, like casinos, right? And then I spent 10 years in charitables, working with charity organizations. So I got to see how the gaming industry does its stuff with its users, and I obviously got to spend a lot of time with charitable organizations. I've spent a lot of my years working with marketing and funnels and all that stuff. So basically, the whole system is designed. Normally, you would design a system to take away decision points, right? You want to get the user to the money, giving me money as quickly as possible. Our system 100% has a lot of points where one, you can't spend more money than is available. So like we cap how much you can pledge, right, to a campaign. And so like with GoFundMe, we could put $1,000 pledge in there, and some people would say we should. um we're not going to. We don't want people putting $1,000 in there, even if they can. If they have $1,000 and they have the means to put $1,000 in, I'd rather you just put $100 in and then donate $900 directly to them, just so that the system's integrity is intact. And then additionally to that, we gate, essentially decision gate you throughout the system. We have all of those things we would take out, we left in, and we
It's
put more in.
it's like when Netflix says, "Are you still watching?" Like they don't want to stream to you if and use the bandwidth if you're not still there watching, right? We are double checking along the way, confirming that you want to participate in this. So it gives enough opportunity for someone that does have qualms about spending that money. Maybe they don't have it, maybe something comes up in the process. They have the opportunity to back out up to a certain extent. So that's something that, again, the consideration aspect, like things happen, life happens. We want to make sure our users, one, don't have funds that are tied up unnecessarily because of authorizations or what have you, and two, don't overspend. So there's to an extent, there's only so much that we can do for that, but we do build that in.
Yeah. So, I mean, to answer that question, for one, that's why we do validation checks up front. We get interested commitments up to the goal. To answer your question, excuse me, Chris. To answer your question, yes, to a degree, the prize and the charitable cause are both part of the goal. So we don't even capture. I'm sorry. We don't even capture.
Can be.
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is this is something where business partners and spouses might not always agree. Some campaigns are going to have a charitable uh, chunk in the pledge goal built in. Some of them may not. So
Yeah, so I mentioned. Well, I'm not going to squirrel for a second. All right. So for a second, I'm going to answer your question. So every campaign will not proceed, be considered successful unless the prize is funded, essentially, whether or not it's paired with a charitable campaign or not. Again, a lot of the system's evolving. So if the store we talked about earlier, where you can suggest items, vote on whether or not they go in the store, and whether or not they become a campaign, they don't have to be tied to a charitable cause. If the community finds that, that's not necessarily how they want to interact with everything, then we'll have to adapt. But, you know, the campaign goal does not proceed to auction unless whatever the goal represents is funded.
so this is actually I think there was either a question earlier or something that uh, something that I misread a question that I actually want to address. But I'm going to remind you now that there's a QR code on the screen, the Mooney campaign is benefiting a family with young children, and the dad has hospital bills and is on hospice. So please consider pledging on this campaign. The pledges will earn you points, and the points can be converted to bids for the auction. And the prize for that auction is going to be the cage side VIP table and tickets for an NFC match. There's a number, I don't remember what it is, but it's here in Atlanta on this coming Friday, October 24th, 2025. Now, how did we come up about what started this? Yes, what started this? So, Dustin Dustin got a job as a webmaster for somebody who was building a thing. And that thing uh, was not as successful as they'd hoped. So they were brainstorming ways to adapt it and work towards, um, a successful launch. And there was a particular meeting that we were talking about um, words for different functions in the system. And we brought up the March of Dimes, the walk thing that we used to do as kids in elementary school or whatever, where you would commit to a certain amount per mile. And then after they walked that mile, you paid based on what your original commitment was. And racking my brain, I was like, it's pledge. And that started it. And then Dustin started thinking about having a critical mass of participants, and how do we gather that critical mass before the auction event goes off? Because if you're waiting for each dollar to come in, it crawls. We dubbed it the penny crawl, because there was a reserve for the items, and so many dollars had to come in towards that campaign for the penny to reach the reserve, and it took forever. One of the other conversations we had around that time was, what if I had a large dollar item like a construction machine, right? Hundreds of thousands of dollars. I have people that would pitch in $50, $100 easy for the opportunity to play for that prize. So that started us on, maybe it's not $1 at a time. Maybe it's pledge what you want to, what you can towards this. One of the campaigns around that time was a 3D printer, and Dustin and I were both interested in this prize. We unknowingly were in a bidding war, and it just went so slow. I probably put in 30 bids. He might have put in 40, I don't know. But it still didn't reach the reserve. So rather than things taking either a set amount of time or crawling to the goal, we wanted to make sure people could adjust the amount that they're contributing in a lump and create that critical mass of funds and participants smoother and faster and easier. This really came to a head when we started thinking about the stages of the process. And I don't want to go into too much technical, but it putting ourselves in the shoes of our user, which is, something that every business founder, owner has experienced. We would not want funds to be held on our account until the reserve is met. So that was built in. And that's where we ended up coming up with the patent pending logic. It really, because it doesn't exist already, it has been such a challenge. Um, we've had development teams, companies that we've worked with that have tried to make it work the way that we want it to, but they don't understand the logic. So we're having to go back in, and thankfully we do have a team that has boots on the ground experience in the trenches of these skills, we don't have a CMO that doesn't know how to make Facebook posts. We don't have a CTO that hasn't brushed up on code in forever, right? We don't have a CEO that hasn't had to make hard decisions and put food on the table every day. Like, we all relate to our users because we are you, if that makes sense. We don't make 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 figures. We're real people, you know? Some of our partners have girls in Girl Scouts. They sell cookies. They're at the booth just like everybody else. My kid's in band. He has to lug an instrument back and forth, and one of them is, you know, both of them are used, right? We're real people. So it's not about it's not about bringing in people that are at that heightened level. It's about people that understand where we meet our market. Did that?
I
Did,
want I want to I
I
want to
think I
hop in there
probably
real quick
squirreled an
because
awful
you
lot.
did squirrel an awful lot. So I think what she was trying to say is we've actually, for the last year, we've talked with a lot of people. We've talked with investors, we've talked with mentors, we've talked with friends, family, and basically we're in between. We're in between, the we're in the middle class, and so a lot of people above us in the echelons up there in terms of success in their business, in terms of their monetary stature, whatever, they don't understand the problem, right? And then the same issue applies to the other side of that. They don't understand their problem, if that makes sense. So it's we have a unique position to be able to both see the goal and how to get there. And we've tried to bring in um, assistance and towards the beginning, if that makes sense. And it doesn't work out because they don't know how to connect. And then the problem we ran into 2 years ago, again, like I said earlier, talking with Techstars, we're naive. We don't know what's going on. We don't know the rules, the rule of the road, so to speak. We don't have the skills in terms of like knowledge for business. We've operated within the confines of whatever our professions were. And so we've had to develop those things. So we basically have had to elevate ourselves to be able to get to where we are. If that makes sense.
We started this journey years ago at this point, and we are committed to seeing it through. And this is one step in the process. I think we've shared an awful lot about us, our partners, our concept, our platform. So please help us share this. Share the campaign, share the cause, share the prize. You know people that like MMA and like wrestling and like those competitions. You know people that are in Atlanta or around Atlanta. Send them the link. Say, hey, check this out. You can pledge $20 and have a chance, or um, somebody that you know that might be able to support based on the cause that has been through something similar or knows somebody that's been through something similar. Share it. Follow us. Like, subscribe. Um, I'm not as familiar with YouTube because I'm a TikTok person, but go ahead and hit that bell thing down there so that you get notified when we go live. We have every intention to do this again. Um, if you're watching this years later and there are no more videos, I'm sorry. We
We
all
tried
have
really hard.
ADHD except for one, but we're trying really hard. But yeah, follow us. Um, our community manager would like us to tell you that we are on Facebook, we are on TikTok, we are on YouTube, we have a website and other things. Please share. This is going to change the world. And the more you share it with people that can help, want to help, or need help, or want to just have a fun online experience, the more you share, the faster it's going to happen. And I can't ask for anything more.
I'd love for somebody in our next stream to ask how this is going to change the world, because I will bring out all the geeky spreadsheets.
And again, Dustin is going to lose his ability to run the stream. He's going to no longer be driving.
Yes, that might happen. So again, we are rounding. I've been reminded we are rounding it roughly about 20 minutes from 3 hours into this. Um, Thank you for listening and being here. Please do share everything. Obviously, we have a very short time frame to make this happen for the Mooney family. In terms of this campaign, there will be more campaigns. We will continue to try to get this thing, out there. And if you can help us with that, that would be awesome. I'm sure me saying this thing is not what my significant other wanted me to say, but get Imagifund out there. There will be bumps, there will be bruises, and there will be a lot of fun on this journey. So we have until Wednesday at 6 p.m. That is when the auction will be scheduled to, because of the way the model works, end, assuming no one bids.
That's Eastern.
Eastern.
And you want to make sure you get your pledges in before that, because there's going to be probably a 20-minute, 30-minute gap between the pledging ending and the auction starting.
Yep. Pledging will end 20 minutes before 6 o'clock p.m. And then the auction will count down to a 0 timer at 6 p.m. And people either bid or they don't. And whoever's the last person to bid wins those tickets. So
it could be you.
It could be you. But the more people we can get that see this, that know what's going on, that we can, the more we can help. So that is what all this is about, is helping.
All right. We're going to sign off for the night because we have pets that need to be fed.
Don't worry, I fed the cats. The dog, on the other hand, is starving.
Yeah.
So.
But thank you for joining us. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for asking questions. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you next time.
Later, everyone.